Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, yes, we're going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing? Are you ready for the weekend? I am ready for the weekend. And I hope you are as well, because you know what, folks, it's going to be a good weekend. I am going to ensure and make it a good weekend because I have a lot of work to do. I'm going to try to get the audiobook for my new book going. I hope I can get that done. But we'll see if we can get it done appropriately. Anyhow, what's up? Anybody wants to call in to get the show started? I'm going to try this new thing. Anybody wants to call into the show right now at 281-823-7747. And before we get into anything, go ahead and tell me what you would like to talk about. So give me a call, 281-823-7747. Don't worry, I have a good video for you today anyway. So we want to talk. But we want to get it done. I'm trying to get it a little bit closer to what we do in the mornings. Let's see, advocate. But whatever the case is, we're going to be talking about advocates are trying to tell, what's his name? El Señor Biden to get rid of Medicare Advantage. And that's what I want to get rid of Medicare Advantage. It's crooked. And we have got to get rid of Medicare Advantage. Let me update that title real quick. I need to update that title real quick, and then we will get started in earnest with the program. As you guys know, it's only me, so every now and then we run into trouble, but we are no longer into trouble. We are ready to go now. Okay, let's see what it's up. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and welcome everybody in. Welcome aboard, El Señor AVQ, who today was the first one in the show. Welcome aboard, Bruce Pollard. Pollard's on the road to Dallas. Wow, I am touched. You're listening to me on your cell phone, I guess. We also have Eric Hayes says, Riley Gaines has just announced she, along with 15 other female athletes who lost out on title records and roster spots to men in the NCAA, this is an exit strategy. Well, we'll see what you're talking about. But let me go ahead and check a few other emails here real quick as we get started. Let's see. Joy, Robert, Reid. It doesn't look like I got that thing in on time for the complete change, but that's all right. Anyway, folks, welcome aboard. Breach MCP says, hi, y'all. She says, St. Pat's weekend, yes. Are they turning your rivers green? You know, we have the bayou that's being turned green out here. And I don't think transgender men should play with women. I am hearing a whole lot of that right now, Breach. Again, like I said, I don't speak much about it because above my pay grade. But if it is, I am of the opinion that you know about this much more than I do. All right, supporters and critics. Okay. I get you. Melanie Keelan says she's in late from Barcelona, Spain. Eric says Fanny runs on taking down one person, cheats with married man, lies under. Oh, wait a minute. Fannie Mae did not cheat. You see how lies get started? Fannie Mae Fannie Willis did not cheat. She had a romantic relationship like everybody else does. She did not cheat. You guys are trying to cheapen what was happening, and I don't want. Let me tell you something about this stuff with Fannie Lewis. Women get judged much harsher than men. Look, she probably should have stayed away from Wayne. She probably should have. There's no doubt about it because of exactly what's happening right now. But she didn't do anything wrong at all. In all over our society, all over our society, this is what goes on. People have relationships with people closer to where they work, etc. And no, Fanny didn't cheat. And it's clear. But of course, when you have some people that don't really care about the truth or don't care about reality, they'll go on and continue to try to demean, especially when it comes to certain groups of people that they like to demean. But anyway, folks, I tell you what, let's go ahead. Michael Radin says, as it comes to LGBTQ issues, sports is a distraction from all the other systemic problems they face, worth addressing first. Bree says, who you kind of black women in GA wouldn't happen to a white or black male. I am 100% agreeing with that statement. It wouldn't have even been an issue. And you know how we know it? Because in every corporation that I've worked at, in every corporation that I've worked at, I've seen the managers there, we always knew which one of the female engineers the male manager was having a fling with, married or not. I worked at NASA for a year and a half, and I know of at least five female engineer flings while I was there in my office. It's amazing. But there was never an issue. But you see, it's different here. And as far as his marriage, yes, it was over. And the thing about it is that the story about Fannie Willis and Wayne was so, if you take a look at it, it was actually a positive story. The guy was his wife cheated on him. He didn't just leave the marriage because he had kids. He wanted a stable environment for his kids. So he stayed married to give those kids a stable environment as they went through school. As soon as they graduated, he officially got his divorce. He did the magnanimous thing. But that's not what the media puts, right? The way the media always articulate these things is to demean specifically black men. And it was up. I knew exactly how it was going to be spun. Here we have a President Trump with 4 or 5 baby mamas, abortions in galore with other women, and these people just make nice of it. They make nice of it. It's no big deal. Obama, a clean marriage, 2 beautiful daughters. They stay together forever. They support each other, and they make Obama look like the bad guy, and the guy with 4 baby mamas look like somehow he could be a great president, even though he's the dumbest thing that we ever had. I mean, when you look at these things, I have to ask those people who demeaned Obama at the same time that they support Trump, who demeans Fannie Willis at the same time that they support other folks that have done other things. Don't you understand that you are exposed you are exposing who you really are? Do you get it? You are exposing who you really are. Think about it. But you would never quite cop to it, but you're exposing who you really are deep in your own heart. And you know what? Most of us know it. Breach knows it. Do we all know it? But anyway, folks, today's topic is going to be twofold. The first part is going to be we're going to touch on TikTok. We'll give TikTok about 15 minutes or so. We're going to the person that did the best job on TikTok on cable news, and I haven't seen much anywhere else, but on cable news was in fact Joyanne Reid because she got to the core of it. And for those who don't like Joyanne Reid, sorry, she's brash, But you know what is one thing from her times at Daily Kos and other places, she knows her stuff and she does her research. And that's why so many people respect the woman. All right. So I think it's essential for us to go ahead. Let me go ahead and play that one now, and then we will take it on the other side. The most honest, the best piece that was done on TikTok was done by Joyanne Reid on her Readout program. I love the way she did it, and she also brought in Robert Reich. I'm going to also play a piece of what I think about this TikTok regime. But first, let's listen to Joyanne Reid as well as Robert Reich, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Yesterday, an overwhelming majority of the House of Representatives passed a bill that would force TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, to sell the social media platform to an American company within 6 months. If they fail to do so, TikTok would be banned from U.S. app stores. The Chinese government owns a 1% stake in ByteDance, in a ByteDance subsidiary. And all types of politicians from both sides of the aisle have said that that poses a threat to U.S. national security, data privacy, and mental well-being because they have access to the personal information of millions of Americans. Opponents say that banning a social media platform would amount to an unconstitutional violation of the freedom of speech of nearly 150 million Americans. But why now? Why is Congress doing this? We've never received public evidence that the Chinese Communist Party is using the app to spy on us or manipulate the masses. Also, if we're so worried about foreign influence, why are the biggest foreign holders of U.S. debt Japan and China? We import roughly $536 billion worth of goods from China. When's the last time you've been in a Walmart and checked where just about everything on the shelves was made? And why did we allow Saudi Arabia to buy influence by investing billions of dollars in Uber, Meta, Microsoft, Google's parent company Alphabet, Amazon, PayPal, and Pinterest? And the list goes on and on. Which brings me back to TikTok. Again, we're told that China poses a distinct threat because of what the CCP could do with all that data. But where's that same level of concern when it comes to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and Discord? These apps are all hotbeds of disinformation. And in the case of Elon's Twitter, Nazism and unrestrained hate. Their algorithms have been manipulated by entities both domestic and foreign, like Russia and Iran. Here's the only distinction I can detect. Those companies are owned by Americans. So I guess algorithms that threaten kids' mental health and push hate and discrimination and disinformation are okay with Congress, as long as it's done by American-owned companies run by U.S. oligarchs like apartheid fan fiction character Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Why? Yesterday, I asked this very simple question. Would this forced sale be to a person in particular? Because all I want to know when I heard this is what rich billionaire American wants TikTok and who is it that is being set up to buy it? Well, this morning we got an answer, and it's even more MAGA than we thought.
You're trying to buy TikTok.
I am, because this should be owned by U.S. businesses. There's no way that the Chinese would ever let a U.S. company own something like this in China. It would be a combination of investors, so there would be no one investor that controlled this. And the issue is all about the technology. This needs to be controlled by U.S.
Let me ask you
The app needs to be rebuilt in the U.S. It needs to be U.S. technology. I think there's a lot that could be done in 6 months.
Yep, that guy. Former Trump Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, who thought this Scrooge McDuck photo op with a sheet of dollar bills and his actress wife by his side, and who pocketed $1 billion from the killer Saudi prince on his way out the door from serving Trump, that guy is the one eager to scoop up TikTok, which is the least surprising thing ever. He doesn't tell us who exactly will be part of the consortium, but I'm sure that the current TikTok investor and Republican billionaire donor, Jeff Yass, who just so happened to have sat down recently with Trump a few weeks ago, will probably want a piece of the action, if past his prologue. It sure looks like these folks are looking to do to TikTok what Musk did to Twitter, Murlock did in creating Fox, and Limbaugh did to talk radio. As soon as I saw that the vote came through to make TikTok sell itself, I'm like, oh yeah, sell it to which billionaire? What do you make of the idea that it's that billionaire who's a MAGA billionaire?
Joy, this is really a billionaire's ball that they're having over TikTok. And you really do have to ask yourself, do you trust American billionaires to guard your privacy and not manipulate you any more than you trust who? The Chinese or anybody else around the world? I mean, American billionaires are owning more and more of our giant media conglomerates, our technology, and having more and more power in our system.
And there are Democrats who believe this too, and Republicans, that China is going to come in and start manipulating the minds of our young people. I'm sorry. I just read a story about Discord and Telegram being used to feed suicidal intent into young people. You've seen it turn up in terrorism cases that people are plotting negative action and violence on these platforms. Twitter has become a dumpster fire of Nazism and hate under a American emigre from South Africa. You've had Facebook that was used by the Russians to manipulate Americans during the 2016 election. I could go on. So how is TikTok any different?
We really do have to start looking at these giant technology platforms as public utilities. They have to be regulated like public utilities. We used to have a whole body of law in this country governing public utilities as public utility.
They don't have to ban it. They could simply regulate it. But that would be more like doing their job. The hitch in terms of trying to steal the technology is that TikTok's algorithms are controlled by ByteDance engineers in China who answer to Beijing. After Trump tried to force TikTok's sale, he later lost in court. Beijing placed export restrictions on its algorithms. TikTok's U.S. algorithm operations could be sold, but not the key technology that powers the app, meaning that the algorithm would have to be rebuilt, which would mean that TikTok would go down temporarily. But I think your point is much more important because the algorithms in the hands of MAGA-friendly people that would make TikTok more like Twitter would actually not decrease the danger.
Just because it's called an American company doesn't mean it's going to be functioning in the public interest. American companies don't naturally function in the public interest. Their purpose is to maximize their profits for their shareholders. And their shareholders are not just Americans. Their shareholders increasingly are worldwide. They're global. And so if these things are not regulated appropriately, if we don't understand that they have to be regulated, then again, it doesn't matter who owns them.
Lastly, the free speech aspect of it. There are a lot of people who wouldn't have a voice other than these platforms. What would it do to free speech to shut TikTok down?
Well, it would hurt free speech, obviously, in the sense that, and again, free speech, when we usually talk about the First Amendment, we're talking about the government and rights against the government. But with regard to these huge mega platforms, and they're giant, they're monopolies. Yep. They have got to be, the people do need access to them.
Absolutely.
Now, they nailed it. It's about the common man. It's about regulation. It's about a reality. This is what I thought of this morning that I placed on X and a few other platforms. Check this out. The TikTok narrative and the congressional vote are all wrong. It has nothing to do with the national security, but reciprocity. The national security angle is used to fool most without technical knowledge of how the internet works. China does not need TikTok either to get our personal information or to mislead us. Our capitalist platforms have always been willing to sell our souls for the mighty dollar. They can buy all the information on the open market and control us by paying the capitalists for ads of all forms to deceive us all. The reciprocity angle is honest and makes more sense. We can't operate Facebook and our social media unfettered in China. So why did we allow access to our markets in the first place? Are we going to kill millions of businesses created on TikTok? Congress wants to force a sale to U.S. mega capitalists under false pretenses. Let's be clear. TikTok is technically much better than all the other platforms. Our capitalists, like parasites, want to do what they do best: steal someone else's intellect and property with false justifications. So yes, the reality is, don't be fooled by what's going on here. All plutocrats fight among each other. And this TikTok fight is nothing more than a technology that superseded any other technology done in America or anywhere. And American capitalists, American plutocrats decided, well, you know what? We want to take it. And here's the deal. They talk about, well, what China has done is it has prevented the company who owns TikTok from exporting the technology. Let me tell you something, guys. If they don't come to an agreement and somehow an American company who wants to pirate and get TikTok does it, believe me, they will pay off a lot of those engineers in China to bring that old TikTok technology right into America, because we do that best. Just like other people steal our technology, guess who's very good at doing that as well? We are.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely, folks. Join. Anyway, we got Yvette Avery Herod in the house. How you doing, Yvette from Atlanta, Georgia? Well, Yvette, I trust that you will be joining. You'll be making sure to vote for Fannie Mae in November as she goes for re-election. I think given that she was under attack, as she was, that the Atlanta population in what you call it county. What's that county again? What is she? Well, I can't remember the county name now, but they're going to come out and vote her as the DA in droves, which is going to get all those MAGA folks going crazy. But we don't like when people unjustly attack. How can an evil person like Donald Trump come against this woman for having maybe not the wisest relationship, but a true romantic relationship with a good man? And that he was, or he is, a good man. But that's what they do. They try to malign people. Anyway, let's continue. Bridge MCP says taxpayer money was never involved. Of course not. But you know how these guys enjoy the line, and of course they're able to convince Eric because it's something that he's predisposed to believe. He is predisposed to believe that those certain things. But you kind of wonder why he doesn't hold Donald Trump to the same account. Lee Grant says more insanity from Democrat-run big cities. New York City Mayor Adams, in an attempt to show his empathy for the suffering of the Haitian people, claimed that New Yorkers called their city the Port-au-Prince of America. There's a lot to unpack there. One pundit noted that no one in the world until Eric Adams has ever called New York City the Port-au-Prince of America. You see, and that, my dear friend Lee Grant, is your lack of not knowing what that would really mean. I always wonder why people, because of, and I say this with I honestly say this with respect, but that's an ignorant statement, right? Because the history of Haiti, the history of Port-au-Prince, the history of Toussaint Louverture, who went ahead and fought the French for their independence, becoming the first Black nation in this hemisphere, who, after freeing themselves, just the way our founding fathers freed themselves from England, the slaves the enslaved people in Haiti freed themselves from that dominion under France, and instead of acknowledging what that meant, they were a step behind the founding fathers. I mean, the founding fathers had freedom. They just had taxation without representation. The Haitians were actual slaves, and they truly fought for their liberty under the tutelage of Toussaint Louverture. And you know what the Western world did to Haiti for having gotten their independence and fought for their independence? The Haitian people say, why is Haiti a basket case? You see, those people don't know how to govern themselves. Let me teach you some history, Brother Grant. Because, because we are not allowed to learn real history in America, we remain an ignorant society. And I mean that as respectful as I can. But those of us who are foreigners who came into America, who made America our home, sometimes we sit back and we say, how can a people so advanced be so uninformed? So let's get busy. Toussaint Louverture liberated with his army Haiti, Port-au-Prince being a very important city then. And the French then said, in order for us not to bring the armies of the world to your land and get rid of this first black nation, because remember, when Toussaint Louverture made that a free country, there were slave states all around it. So these colonists, these slaveholders were scared. In the South in America, there are many areas in which slaves outnumbered masters and their ilk. And they were scared that somehow this was going to metastasize throughout the world, right? So what happened? They brought the clamp onto this first black nation and said, okay, now that you are free, you are going to have to pay us for you no longer being an asset. So for decades upon decades upon decades after I don't remember the Independence Day of Haiti, these people had to pay France over and over and over for their freedom. So they couldn't invest that money in their infrastructure. They couldn't invest that money into building up their society. They had to pay for their bodies having been assets. That is evil. So whenever you think you're talking about somehow making Haiti look pretty bad, think about the people who created that. And let's take it one step further. The free trade treaty that decimated the rice farming in Haiti under the auspices of Bill Clinton. You see, it's important that you learn some history before you condemn all these third world countries, before you sit down and watch the immigrants coming over here and asking why. Ask, is there a possibility that our policies, are responsible for that? Do you really want to clear your ignorance, or do you just want to live in a bubble of ignorance? Which one is it? Do you want to learn? Do you want to come to politics done right and all of us be educated on the world so that we can make a better world? Welcome aboard, Carl Cox. Humble and modest as always. How you doing, my brother? Think about it, folks. Think about it. Do we want Power Manifesto in action? You're actually very right, British MCP. Michael Rotze, Egberto couldn't find any more flaws in the arguments presented. The only thing we have to mention is to dispel the notion of hypocrisy that the United States and China have the same types of regulations. We have free speech and an open internet. China does not. In that regard, we are better than China and should not degrade ourselves to mirror them. We should never denigrate ourselves to mirror them. But the statement that our internet is open, I can tell you based on my own personal experience that isn't always true. You watch PDR and you take a look at our PDR numbers. We are throttled. If I speak about certain issues, I can get my viewership over several hundreds in real time. I'm not talking about podcasts. I'm talking about real time. All right. There are certain keywords that keep us throttled. We are censored. The only difference is that we're not censored on the internet specifically by our government. We are censored by the carriers. But we could have laws that prevent our carriers from censoring us. But we don't officially have them. Paul Fleming says, Vice President Kamala Harris called the current classification of marijuana under federal law absurd and said she is looking forward to seeing what the DEA decides about moving it to a different category, which they should. Yes, Nathan Wade tendered his resignation. Yes, he did. Paul Fleming says a conservative activist who once called for the murder of President Joe Biden and former President Barack Obama and Republican nominee is the Republican nominee to be superintendent of North Carolina's public school. That is true to form. That is true to form. Okay, let's see. Michael Rodney says, oh, that's a message to Paul Fleming. Let's continue reading before we continue with the other stuff. Fulton County. Thank you very much, Fulton County. And yes, I think she will win Fulton County in a landslide. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Michael Rodney says, Eric, you're right. Okay, that's a conversation. Paul Fleming says, Don Lemon, do you believe that women and minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and less skilled than white male pilots? Elon Musk, no. I'm just saying we should not lower the standards for them. Lemon, there's no evidence that standards are being lowered. Musk, watch replies on X showing that it is. Lemon, replies on Twitter aren't necessarily fact. Of course, it's not on fact. And let's give another fact here, right? Commercial airlines. If you judge pilots by their performance, included in that performance is not crashing the plane, right? Again, included in that performance is not crashing the planes. Let's come to America. How many black pilots have ever been in a plane crash? I leave that up to you to go find out. Because again, remember, let's ask the question. If you're judging pilots by how many have crashed and who, if you want it, since you want to go into demographics, Elon Musk, which ones have crashed planes? All right, we'll take that under advisement for you. Yvette Avery Harris says she's Fulton County. I live in another county. I work in Atlanta. I got you, Yvette. Well, you may need to move to Fulton County to vote for. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Lee Grant says Haiti's history also include the genocide of white Frenchmen. We need all of history. Wait a minute. No, we don't. Haitian it does not include the genocide of white Frenchmen. It includes black slaves liberating themselves, which took a war. That's not genocide. Genocide is what came before. Okay? So no, that's not genocide. I know you'd like to make it that way. It's not. Michael Radden says after the U.S. Civil War that ended slavery, there was no purge of slave masters by their formerly enslaved, despite fears that such would occur. People just want to be free. Exactly. Let's look at South Africa. When South Africa, the apartheid was ended, the fear was, oh my God, now there's going to be a killing field because there's so many more black people than white people in South Africa. No, that's not the case at all. And the other thing is, inherently culturally, as a society, if you take a look at Africa, they try to make you believe that Africa is a savage land, right? That's what they'd like you to believe. Oh, there's a lot of killings and all of that kind of stuff. First of all, I don't believe in the racial thing, but I do believe in the cultural thing, right? Because there are cultural differences that people build up, and they have cultural differences. As an example, when I talk about not believing in the race thing but the cultural thing, when I came to America, I remember this. Maria and some other women that grew up in Arcoiris, our Rainbow City, our town on the Canal Zone. Some of these people, there were some families in our city that were white, and they spoke English with the Caribbean accent that we speak, because they were also West Indians, right? And they also spoke Spanish with the accent, the Collins accent in Spanish that we spoke. And and I didn't realize that several of these, I'm talking about Panamanians in the Canal Zone where we lived and went to school and all of that, we were culturally Afro-Latino Caribbean folks, right? But some of these people weren't, we can chop the Afro off. They were just Caribbean Latinos, right? But it never registered to us because the culture of all of us were the same. So we were Caribbean. We eat the sauce. We eat the leon. We eat the arroz con pollo and all these kinds of things. And it's when I came to the States. And by the way, that's not to say that I didn't know about racism in Panama, because America made sure we knew 100% about racism, and they kept the particular groups in power in Panama, the Rabiblancos in power in Panama. So I understood all of that. But I'm talking about community now. Our community was tight, and we didn't know some of these people were white. We didn't. It never registered. They talk like us. They act like us. They did everything, but they're white. And I sat down there, and I remember that realization came, and I put that in this book here. When one of the minister's son came to the University of Texas, and we always hung together until he dissed me. He realized that he was white. I have a chapter in this book where I actually mention that story. Let me see if I can get to it really, really quick. When my Panamanian countryman discovered his whiteness, he forgot his nationality. That's the title of that particular story in my new book. But so Lee, the reason I'm bringing that up again is for Lee Grant and etc. Anyway, Michael Rodney says, Egberto, you're right about that. Political podcasters have said they're being throttled over ever since Adpocalypse, where ad buyers no longer wanted to run their ads to pay for certain types of contents. Oh man, we were being throttled even before that, man. If you say certain things, they didn't want to hear from you. Michael Rodney, Egberto, thanks for introducing me to coconut rice. It's quite nice. It's great, isn't it? I mean, so you throw that coconut milk in there, and it's good. Guys, hit up Michael Rudnin for that coconut rice that we talked about making here. And anybody, you know what I'm going to do? I have another website called The Experimental Cook. Let me put it in here, and I have different products. Different recipes that I've created there, including some Panamanian dishes. I'm going to put, let's see, the experimental chef. What is it? The experimental cook, I think. Cook.com. I think it's the experimental. Oh, wow, I'm getting old. I think it's the experimental chef. I think it's chef.com. Let's see if that's it. But anyway, I may go ahead and add to the experimental. No, it's not the experimental chef. But anyway, I will add that at some other time. That's not it. So, folks, so forget about that link that I just put there. The experimental something. Why can't I remember the name of my own website? I got about 20 websites, so I can't remember them all of the time. Let's see if I can. The experimentalcook.com. That's what it is. The experimentalcook.com. Why did I put chef? I'm no chef. All right. This is a website. This is my other website where I have me doing a whole lot of cooking. Websites with me cooking, etc. And this is what it looks like. Let me see if I can put that on the screen. Where are you? Where are you? And then we're going to talk Medicare Advantage. I'm just blowing a few things here. There we go. Anyway, that's one of my dishes, my brothers and sisters. I make all kind of things. These are all things that I make. You see that thing there, the carimañola, fritura panameña treat that is easy to make. Those are all Panamanian dishes that I do a little video and stuff as I do it. It's called the experimentalcook.com. I love to do a little bit of everything. But anyway, continuing with the show, and sorry for bringing that up now. Continuing with the show, anybody wants to talk anymore about TikTok before we move on? Anybody wants to call in, 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. I'm going to wait about 60 seconds, and then I'm going to move on. While I'm waiting to see if anybody else wants to call in, I'll go ahead and say that Wisconsin beaten Northwestern by 11 points with 1 minute remaining. I got my priorities. Hey! No, I got you. Bridge MCPC, Egberto Willis. Wow, Pence says he cannot in good conscience endorse Trump. Wow, that's a statement, especially from a coward like he is. Michael Renner says, I just found it on a local restaurant's menu. Ordered it as a side. It was good. All right, but Rudnin, I want you to make it for yourself, brother. Paul Fleming says, Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is closing in on multi-billion-dollar deals to buy real estate for tourism projects in Serbia and Albania, a move which watchdogs say is concerning this close to the 2024 presidential election. Of course, of course. Upset in the Big Ten, Wisconsin 70, Northwestern 59. Wow. Wow. All right. Is anybody going to call 281-823-7747? Well, let's go to Medicare Advantage. All right. I got a story to tell, and I don't know if he's listening today. Carl Cox says Trump is deadly poison. Here is the thing. I was working last night, and a good friend of this show called me. And I mean, he actually called me on my cell phone. And because I had given him some advice about Medicare Advantage about his wife, he wasn't sure exactly what kind of plan she had signed up for. And she had signed up, and I asked him if he will, after he gets her settled, if he will come on and do an interview about his entire ordeal. But I'm going to give a short synopsis of what occurred. And everybody that's listening here, I want you to listen to this in detail, because Medicare Advantage is an evil enterprise. It's an evil healthcare insurance system that we need to rid ourselves of. So he called up and he said, Berto, remember we're talking about Medicare Advantage, and you told me to switch over to Medicare, standard Medicare, as soon as I could before, his wife got too sick, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but he didn't. And he said, this has been a terrible several weeks. His wife has severe back problems. She's disabled now. And it got so bad that she had to be hospitalized. And they hospitalized her. Of course, for that particular one, the Medicare Advantage had to take care of the hospitalization, etc. Now, when it was time to discharge her, they really wanted to discharge her to rehab, because they weren't going to, the Medicare Advantage was not going to pay for rehab in the expensive premises of a hospital. So the idea was to get her to a rehab facility. So they go ahead and there's a rehab facility close to my friend's home, a PDR Posse member, and they applied to go to the place, and they were summarily denied by Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage, then they appealed it. They were summarily denied again. After that occurred, they gave them a list of places that wasn't the best one, but wasn't what he wanted. So he went ahead and said, okay, I'll look at these other places, and I will go with the Medicare Advantage one that best suits my wife, absent the one that I want to go to. And he goes to that, and they admit her, and they fill out the paperwork. 4 days after, Medicare Advantage from this particular insurance company rescinds their acceptance of, in other words, they rescinded and issued a denial letter. The place called my friend and said, you have to get out of here. Okay? He said, I don't know what's going on. They approved it, etc. The guy said, yes, but look, they just sent us a denial. Now, they said, but we'll hold her for 1 day for you while you get things in order. So he goes out there and he starts to talk to the people at Medicare Advantage. He can't get a human being. He can't get anywhere. By the way, I told him, whenever he's talking to Medicare Advantage, meaning the particular insurance company that's administering Medicare Advantage for him, I told him, keep it taped. We're a one-party state, so you can tape every phone call. Also, let them know that you're going to be going to the media, because that usually get results, as we've had more than one caller call us after they told them that they were in touch with a media, specifically Politics Done Right. And suddenly they got an acceptance letter. Okay? He didn't do that. And the reason he said he didn't do that was because he said a nurse told him, if you ever say that the media is involved, you won't be able to reach anybody. And I told him that must have been a nurse who's out of circulation. Because even if you can't reach anybody, having taped with video that you can't reach anybody is enough advertising, is enough media to go all over the internet and on media that shows, hey, this is what Medicare Advantage with this particular company is all about. Notice we are unable to reach them to get care for my wife who is disabled, who is suffering. So they gave him bad advice, but that's okay. So we spent some time talking. We spent a lot of time speaking last night about next steps, etc. But it turns out that his wife initially was on Medicare Advantage. The crooks, was on traditional Medicare with a Medigap plan. The crooks that sell Medicare Advantage convinced his wife to switch from Medicare traditional to Medicare Advantage. But here's the kicker. These guys were so into just wanting to sell her a Medicare Advantage product that her old company was going to be paid for based on a retirement plan that they forgot, or they didn't even know she had a Medigap plan. So that Medigap plan stayed in effect, which means that when she goes back to Medicare traditional, her 20% will be covered by her old Medigap plan that she has been paying for over a decade. So she got the best of all, or she not got. She will get whenever they can make that transition, and we don't know how long that transition is going to take, but in the long run, she will be okay because she has the Medigap as well as going back to traditional Medicare Advantage. It is coincidence now that I wanted to cover this article that just came up because it is apropos. Patients, advocates push Biden to reclaim Medicare from privatized Medicare Advantage. If Medicare Advantage has it their way, they're going to deny me care and delay me care until I'm dead, said one patient, which is exactly what they attempted to do with my friend's wife. But I have a kicker before I read this article. And here's the kicker. When they refused to put a bed, the appropriate bed that standard Medicare would have put in her home on the first floor. Their bedroom is on the top floor, but they're moving to the second floor, to the first floor. They want, in order to, the reason they gave for denying her any service, meaning in that rehab center. Remember, they had approved it. But you know how Medicare Advantage works. Their goal is to try to rescind, it is to try to deny coverage for anything that they can find. And you can imagine the person who gets the credit, get it denied, probably get a bonus, right? But they have it in their records that his wife at one time did not accept rehab. And because they have that written down in their records, they are denying her the ability to go to rehab going forward. That was the excuse. And supposedly there may be in the fine print somewhere that if somehow they have on record that you've denied rehab, that it's over for you. But my friend also have documentation that she actually went for rehab. Folks, Medicare Advantage is a scam. Folks, Medicare Advantage is thievery. Medicare Advantage is going to be the end of healthcare for senior citizens in the long run if we don't nip it in the bud. So, patients on Medicare Advantage spoke out against the privatized plans this week as part of a coordinated campaign to shed light on the program's care denials, treatment delays, and overbilling, and to pressure U.S. President Joe Biden to rein in the insurance giants raking in huge profits from such abuses. These corporations do nothing to increase positive outcomes in medical care, so don't fall for their BS. Gene Coffey, a retired EMT from New Hampshire, said during a live stream hosted by People's Action on Wednesday night. The stream featured testimony from several patients who have experienced the kind of delays and denials for which Medicare Advantage is notorious. Rick Timmons of Puget Sound Advocates for Retirement Action said it took 5 months and multiple calls and emails for his insurance company to approve his referral to a dermatologist for a suspicious lump on his earlobe that turned out to be malignant melanoma. The delay stemmed from a Byzantine process known as prior authorization, whereby doctors are required to prove a treatment is necessary before an insurance is covered. And think about a melanoma. A malignant melanoma, if you don't get it out in time, if it gets under the epidermis, can spread throughout your body and kill you. So that denial, this guy should sue the holy hell out of that program. By the time his referral to a specialist was approved, Timmons said the previous tiny lump had tripled in size and was quite painful. Coffee, for her part, ended up on a United Health Medicare Advantage plan after she was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2013. She later developed 2 rare diseases, including complex regional pain syndrome, and required expensive treatments that her Medicare Advantage plan refused to cover. If Medicare Advantage has their way, they're going to deny me care and delay my care until I die, she says. They only make money when they don't have to spend it on you. That is private care for you, folks. That is private health care for you. For those of you who are sitting down there saying socialism, whenever we talk about healthcare, people understand for-profit healthcare makes no sense. Fee for service makes no sense, because to make money, they have to make you sick. You have to be sick. Boy. If Medicare Advantage has its, well, I read that already. They like to tell you Medicare Advantage numbers are so high. Can't you tell people love it? Said Coffey, alluding to the fact that more than half of all eligible Medicare beneficiaries are now enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan. No, we don't. We're stuck. It's the Hotel California. You can check in, but you can't get the hell out. Medicare Advantage, folks, is a death sentence for many. And as long as you continue to love you're never supposed to love your insurance. Never. An insurance isn't something for you to love. An insurance is just something to pay a bill. And that is why we need to get the private sector out of insurance altogether. That link is in the blog for this, and it's a longer article that I'm not going to go through right now. But I want you all to get the point, people. It is imperative that you understand the evil within Medicare Advantage. And I'm not saying that lightly. I am not saying that lightly at all. It is imperative that we get the private sector out of health insurance. It is essential that we get the private sector out of hospitals in the long run, because it is a clear and present danger to your life. And if you allow yourself to be lied to, if you allow yourself to be scared that they say socialized medicine are several orders of magnitude better than what we have with private healthcare. Look, my wife has great private healthcare with her company or book. But you know what they do? They sucker everything. They bill her for everything. And our portion of the bill is likely going to be fairly high. What I'm trying to tell you, people, my brothers and my sisters, is we have to stop allowing them to pit us against each other, and we have to start getting smart for ourselves. Medicare Advantage must die. Medicare Advantage must end. And, we don't have to, everybody talk about laws. We don't have to depend on our Congress to stop Medicare Advantage. We can educate our brothers or sisters or fathers or mothers or sisters or brothers or cousins. We can tell them Medicare Advantage is ultimately a death sentence. Don't do it, and let it die on the vine. Whether the president cancels it or not, we can kill it. And how do we kill it? Just not signing up for it. You know why you have to re-up for Medicare Advantage every year? Because it is crap. You don't have to re-up for traditional Medicare every year. You just have it. It's a law. It's a law. You have Medicare by law. You never have to re-up it. You get your Medicare card, traditional Medicare card once. You don't need anything else. But the private Medicare is a scam. Medicare Advantage is a scam. Brothers and sisters, please heed the warning. I beg of thee, those of you who continue to support Medicare Advantage, you are actually supporting the ability for these thugs to continue not only hurting you, but hurting everybody else. That's what it's all about, folks. Please, please, Medicare, traditional Medicare, and make sure you never, ever sign up for Medicare Advantage. For those who said, well, who's going to pay the 20%? Worry about that some other day. Take Medicare Advantage, let Medicare Advantage pay the 80%, and then we can figure out something on the 20% if you can't afford Medigap. When my friend called me last night, I can't tell you how I was close to sleepy, but it woke me up. It woke me up. The evil that is the system. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. So I want to ask you guys to please support the program. I need to get 37 people on our newsletter. I need 37 people to sign up for a newsletter to reach 100 subscribers on the newsletter. I would love to reach this weekend. Can you guys help us get to 100 subscribers of the newsletter? I need 27 subscribers. I think it's like 18 subscribers for Patreon. But let me first tell you, you can subscribe, you can support the program in any form. politicsdoneright.com/support is where you can find out how to support the program. You can also support the program by getting our books, right? But I'm Tribulation of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Please check it out. politicsdoneright.com/books is how you get my book. politicsdoneright.com/books. But what I'm asking you to do is either I need 17 people I think I need for Patreon. Let's call it 18 people for Patreon and 37 people for the newsletter. So please, and again, it's a cup of coffee for Politics Done Right. A cup of coffee for Politics Done Right. Please consider subscribing to our newsletter. First, let me give you the Patreon. Subscribing to Patreon. Again, if you get the $4.99 one, you can read all my books. All 5 of my books, you can read it online. All 5 of my books by becoming one of our patrons. And that is at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. If you subscribe to our newsletter, if you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, again, a cup of coffee, you get to read all of our books as well on the application free of charge. So by subscribing to our newsletter or subscribing to our Patreon, you get a chance to read all our books, including my latest book. So I need 37 on the newsletter to reach 100, and I think I need 17 or 18 on Patreon to reach 100. So I ask you so kindly to please support the program however you can. My name is Egberto Willis. I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Egberto Willis. It's Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view.
We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.